Thanks, Lee. And let me just take a moment to thank you and to say how much I've enjoyed this weekend. It's been a real spiritual feast for me as well. What a wonderful event you've orchestrated for us all, and we're so thankful for that. I'm coming to you from my home in Oklahoma City. Let's take a moment to connect with the two great streams of wind that the Native Americans upon this land have always known about and connected with and spoken to. And let's ask them to carry forth from this event the energies of wisdom and of balance, of peace and of love, and to bring what has been offered in its energetics unto our country, seeking answers and new ways of being, and unto a world open for solace and peace of mind and heart. This is our prayer as we come together like this. Amene, as they say in Hawaiian. Amene, amene. And so it is as we come together in this special way, the opportunities of the virtual sharing beyond time and space, where more than ever we're aware of ourselves as the frequencies upon which we reach one another, and as the love and the light that we carry in our being. Today we're going to talk, as I said, about tending that light within it, but my first thought for today was I want to sing together. I want to sing. And so I asked Lee if it would be possible to play a song that came to me some years ago that's on YouTube that has the words on it, and we could join together. And so he listened to it and said, let's give it a try. And so we're going to play Daybreak Song at this time and experience the beauty of this prayer that has had meaning to many, many of us since ancient times. When the song was given to me in the mid-'80s or so, I was told that it was a song of an ancient land, which I believe now to be Lemuria, where I have been told and understood in my heart I was what we would now call a high priestess, but we didn't have these designations then. Within a family that had a grand lineage of sound and song. And this is a song that came, I would go to many places, joined with many of you as we sang to the sun, as we greeted the day, and a special place in a favorite city of mine in Lemuria. I would walk, and you can come with me, down a spiral staircase to a beautiful cavern beneath, where the ocean came in a beautiful pool and could be heard crashing outside. And we would sing this song to greet and to bless the day. And now, Lee and Carl, if you can play it, let's listen and enjoy and sing together. Well, it's a wonderful song. It's available on my website. It's on YouTube, but you can find it if you like through my website, if that's easier, mahulili.com, mahulili.com. It's Daybreak Song, and it'll take you to the YouTube place. There are many people who come together in the morning and sing that song. And over time, it's become something that's grown and is very special. There's no official joining. It's just if you happen to want to come, nobody will know necessarily if you're there or not. But it's part of my daily practice. And I tend to sing between 7 and 9, and a larger and larger group of people around the world have taken to greeting the day with this song as well. It's a blessing and a prayer for our own lives and our world. And when it was given to me, I was told that if I would sing it each morning, the coherence that it lent to my life would last for 24 hours, and that singing it daily would change my life. And so I did, and it has, and it continues to, as it's part of my daily practice. I decided, as I mentioned, to treat myself to this weekend, to take a break and to really avail myself of the energies here like you are. I've enjoyed every moment, every channeling, every presentation, each exercise. It's been a wonderful, wonderful retreat and a precious time to be together. I've felt fed and nourished and had a great reset and an up leveling. And that's part of why we come, isn't it? For this lift, this up leveling. We want to reset and we want to refresh ourselves, but we also want to catch the thermals of the energy and, like the eagle, rise up in them. And then there raises the question of, will it last? And this is an important question. Does it last? How long does it last? And we've all had experiences of feeling so much more expanded at an event like this, and then watching it seem to leave us. And this is one of the challenges of raising in the light, of elevating in frequencies. The Dalai Lama once said in an address that I saw that being in the monastery is one thing, but if the monks had to live out in the life as we do, worrying about the rent and taking care of all the many, many things that come before us, they also would have the difficulties that we have. And so this is one of the conundrums for people who come in these times to bring the light not into the monasteries and stay there offering it to the world, but to bring the light into themselves, living in the world, and to be living expressions of the light that we are. And so we enter here the arena of what has been called the mysteries of the light, which in other times have often been great secrets, not so much now, as we are to bring them into our being, into our physicality, and into our physical world. So one of the great areas of study and understanding for anyone engaged in this is this question of, how do we elevate and how do we hold the frequencies? And that's what I want to address in the time that we have together today. There's a way to understand this. If we think of ourselves, we think of the many kinds of light that there are, many types of things in the world that offer light. There's a lamp, for instance, a candle, and there's the lighthouse. And the lighthouse is not placed in the desert or some other place where there are not stormy seas and sailors upon the seas to see the light and to be warned. It is placed on the shore, on the stormy shores, by the dangerous reefs and shoals. And so we are lighthouses, and like the lighthouses used to be, there is a light within us that we must tend. And in the old days, there was a lantern that cast the light onto the great reflecting prisms as it revolved. But for us, this light is a beautiful gift within us. And with it, and with this ascending in the frequencies, comes the responsibilities and duties of the lighthouse keeper, the tending of the light that we are. And so as we discover our light and as we feel its preciousness and the promise of it and its responsibility, we wonder, how do we raise it in its level of light, and how do we hold that level? And there are 5 things that I'll bring to this discussion for us to consider. The first is, in my life, I've learned that one of the most important things is a daily practice. Sometimes my daily practice is more formalized than others. It changes over time, which is necessary for things not to become rote or boring. But my daily practice always includes the daybreak song and a grounding prayer in which I connect to the core of the earth and to the heavens in a certain way that I've been taught. And this brings such stability and lends resilience to my day. And without these 2 things, I probably would stay in bed. So my own daily practice always includes that. And then sometimes it includes lengthier meditations, not as much as in times past. More often, well, in fact, every day, part of my practice is short periods of connection and communion. And in these periods, which might be 1 minute, they might be 5 minutes, they might be longer, but generally short periods every hour or 2, where I just pause and take a short break and bring my attention briefly to my breath, and then to the light as it is given in me, and say a prayer of thanks for this fullness that I am and for the light that I have. And this, more than anything, as I've seen it, brings such an expansion and begins to create over time a coherence and a consistency of coherence of the light that is in me. So daily practice is the first thing. The second is reaching out. This is the second most important thing to me, is when things are a little wobbly, or when I've been rushing about and feel a little over-adrenalized, when things are worrisome in the outer world, then I spend more time reaching out to people who are dear to me and who lift me and who help remind me or who bring a good laugh. I also have my go-tos, the books that are spiritual books that are old standbys for me that always reposition my perspective and lend so much to me. And as well, things that, well, the words, like in the books, but the spoken words of others, the repository of free channels, extraordinary channels that Lee offers on the Kryon.com website is amazing. Many times I go there just to retune to another frequency and to refresh myself in a brief way. They're short channels, 5 or 15 minutes at most. And so the words and the writings of others play a real role for those of us who stay in our daily lives as opposed to the monasteries and the ashrams. I know I've had lifetimes of that living, and this time I'm here for this purpose of bringing it into me and sharing it out. And so it's light upon me, light within me, light I am. The third is just what this points to, and that is the sharing of the light. We're meant to share it into our own life, and to express it into our own life, and to share it with the world. And this sharing can be done in activities such as random acts of kindness and the kinds of things that we would think about. But it's also done by simply remembering who you are. And that's why the small periods that I mentioned, those many breaks throughout the day when I remember the light that I also am, and when I feel it in my body expressing outward, that is what gives me that expression, that sharing that I came here for. And in this, and as more and more of us do it, we receive also so much. The receiving for the sharing makes it not a task, but a blessing, for we get so much out of it as we radiate. The light is radiant in its aspects, which means that we are in ourselves radiantly expressing beings of light. The fourth area that I would share with you is our precious, precious thoughts. This is one of my very favorite areas, my thoughts. And one of the most important places that we can increase our light and maintain our light. And perhaps it is the place that, for lack of attention, we most often degrade our light or feel that lessening. There's a loneliness in that lessening, isn't there? We miss it. We miss the light. And our thoughts is a place where light leaks, where the light of our vessel leaks through our thoughts, trickles out. And we have so many habitual thoughts. I as well, maybe most of our thoughts are just habitual thoughts. And when it comes to things like how we talk about others, we're still back at trying not to gossip. This is really like still trying to learn our ABCs so we can read. What we say and what we think counts greatly. It's one of the most fun arenas. And I think that We must pull all self-criticism out of it so that there's not a feeling that it's a task that we're feeling, but begin to recognize, all of us who love to understand more about how to raise and how to ascend in the frequencies. Here is the treasure trove. Here is the gold mine for us to mine, to bring into our thoughts through this reaching out, through this daily practice, through reading the words, the encouraging words, and hearing the encouraging words of others. We fill our mind with thoughts that come out in our expression. And that becomes a habit. And it feels so much better when we are annoyed at somebody and we want to just talk about them to somebody. We all know this. It doesn't feel good. It doesn't, and we can begin to really feel the truth of this. It doesn't feel good. And that not feeling good is sort of a leaking happening. It's our losing the opportunity, the light opportunity of our precious, precious thoughts. We have this capability to think and to speak truth, to express ourselves because of the power in it. And we are at the point now where we are called to this. It is one of the gateways to the higher levels of light. It is. And the last one that I'll mention today is sound. For we are these physical bodies that are full of so many jiggling and bouncing and moving about things, so many cells, so many atoms of our being. And each is like a gyroscope unto itself. And think of a child's top. As we give it a good turn, we wind it up and we give it a good turn, and it spins very at a certain rate, very strong and level. But then as it begins to decrease in its rotation, it starts to what? To wobble, doesn't it? And in this wobbling, the wobble sort of creates more wobble until soon it's wobbling like crazy and then topples over. So we are ourselves a gyroscope within our makeup, and within each cell and each atom, a gyroscope. And it is sound that balances, that sets the rotation. These gyroscopes are wonderful, sensitive little instruments, if you will, of light within our being, for the spin creates the light. And how we operate in our lives creates what feeds this, the sound that we are. And we can bring sound to it to balance what begins to wobble. This is good for our health and for so many things. Our body loves it. My mother told me later in life that I learned to talk rather late, and she said she was kind of concerned. She thought, does she have brain damage or what? Because I didn't speak. I hummed and I hummed all the time. And that may have been because of the sound lineage that I carry. And also because things were often very difficult and tense in my home, and I would have felt this as a child and used humming, used sound to calm. Sound can be very simple, a hum, a little song like I heard them sing in the rainforest where we were in Ecuador, for instance. We sang them the Daybreak Song, which was translated to them, and they loved, they trusted us because of the lyrics, because of the words. And then we asked them to sing to us, and there was a great consternation. And it turned out they don't have organized songs like these. They just sing spontaneously. And so finally the chief, someone insisted, a poor woman, to step forward, and she said in her language that she would sing something like she would sing if she was in her manioc field hoeing her yams in the morning. And so then she sang, and I'll do it like it was in English. I'm so happy in my manioc field. The sun is coming up and it's beautiful and bright. The sun feeds my manioc. My manioc feeds my family. I'm so happy. It was just like that. And it reminded me of what frequency and singing is, the prayer, the song of your heart. And so we can just bring a simple little song, a simple little song like that. Like today, you can do it where no one hears you. It doesn't matter if it's masterful or if it sounds like music should to our culture. Your body delights in the sound of your own voice unto it. And so we can bring sound. The sound unifies and stabilizes our gyroscopes, which brings health and energy, health and vitality to our being. Sound is so dear to me. In the early 80s, I had an idea. I was living as an artist then, and I gathered 6 cassette players or 7 cassette players and 7 different kinds of chants that I had collected, and put them all in the cassette players in a circle and stood in the middle, turned them all on, and then just listened. I had an idea that if I heard the chant from all over the world, different chants, Jewish davening, American Indian chanting, Bulgarian step chanting, Russian throat singing, that I might hear the song of the human being in the combined chants. And something rather extraordinary happened. I began to have an experience of disintegrating or coming apart until I lost awareness of myself, not consciousness, but self-awareness. And then I began to have the experience of coming back together. And it was an initiation into what became a lifetime growing knowledge, body of knowledge, or return of knowledge to me about sound. And I began to sing each day, discovering the chambers and within us. And we're going to sing, or rather, I'm going to tone for just 1 minute or so and have a special message so that we can all feel it, that we can receive the codes and the nourishment that is designed for us for this day, in this moment, to open and activate us in certain ways in the opportunity of being together. Amorum bevreum aha, fredu soya de momo, Kryon raya broso mo vreum kava se yoma. Akvavande Shreim the Kon jebro de keya ma jebro the vre de seyam bra ma deya homa Beloved ones, this is what is true. Within the being of your own creation, there is the pearl of great price. It is a treasure beyond words and measure. It is yours, and it is a gift. It is not outside of you somewhere that you must search or find. It is not in the hands or control of anyone else. There is no other gatekeeper than you. It is there for you to discover as the truth of who you are and as the way to live. This priceless pearl is the way within you. This way is the truth of who you are, the truth of the soul's light in you. The light is the eternal light of your being, and it is a gift offered unto you that need no earning. And we tell you this is so as we come to you in love from the very center of the heart of love. And as we end our time together, I have to see the clock. I'm so filled with all that we've received this weekend and the blessing of it, and glad to have been my part, and thank you all for the lives that you have walked to now that has brought this beautiful light into your being. Back to you, Lee.